Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! No! Let's give it a second before we get the show started. Um, Solid. I don't know if I call it solid Sports Sunday.
Solid.
Disappointing Niners game all around. Non-credentialed take. Um, Warriors game. I mean, we did get to see some Steph brilliance. They won. Ultimately, all that matters is a win. All that really matters is the win. But it's slightly above average Sunday at best.
Yeah, yeah. We got some baseball. We got some good baseball going on. Some college football. I don't know.
That's true.
I'm happy because the entire NBA is back, and dude, I'm watching so many games every day. I'm not gonna fucking lie to you. I'm not watching 48 minutes of even the Cavs right now because Garland's out. So I don't really want to watch them. But some of these. I mean, dude, I have a take for you. The NBA has so much better, um, like game quality than the NFL. The difference to me is that the NFL is the NFL. So football is always going to win. It's always going to be exciting because it's football. But dude, basketball quality of basketball is extremely high, in my opinion.
I think the first 2 weeks of the NBA season are maybe the most fun of the season, and then reality hits for a lot of teams. Then the Cinderellas disappear, and then uh, maybe Orlando's going to be fun. Maybe OKC is
Maybe
going
the
to be
Utah
frisky,
Jazz. Maybe the Utah Jazz will be maybe
but
2-0.
20 games in, we'll find out who's real or who's not. But I think it's time we start our show.
Let's go.
I think it's time. And welcome to Light Years live on YouTube. Andy Liu, the Warriors won over the Sacramento Kings Sunday night. We're recording this. We will not acknowledge the 49ers game
We
because
never
we're
do.
not, because we're not credentialed to speak about that. Um,
Hey, before we get going here, we just did a show on playback for the Warriors game that we just talked about. That we do on a weekly basis. We'll be doing one next Sunday. We've kicked off our Patreon. You can always check out Sam's bio, my bio. Right, we've got a bunch of extra things like the Discord and shows and Q&A and mailbags and all that stuff that we do that Sam and I put together, mostly Sam. So you can always feel free to subscribe and support the podcast and rate 5 stars. We're doing a bunch of new shit like this, like YouTube lives, right, this season. So we appreciate everyone joining us and supporting us through the journey for you know, two guys that are beloved in the Bay Area, Samuel, right? Two guys that are beloved by Warriors fans. But somehow people get mad at us sometimes, and I always feel like I didn't do anything this week. I was sick this week, and people get mad at us. And I don't know, Sam, your thoughts. Your thoughts on what happened in the Bay Area media landscape this week?
What's funny is, so you're referring to that clip we saw circulate around where they were very clearly talking about how you and I are not qualified, we're not credentialed, we're not experts. I thought about not responding, taking the higher road, being the bigger person, but I don't know that I think that's fair. I feel like I kind of have an obligation to all the people out there who are creating content and all the people who support us. That was weak, man. That might have been the most pathetic thing I've heard someone say in the last year. Like gatekeeping in 2022. What are we doing here? Like I thought I was in a time machine back to 2012 with Jay Mariotti like telling Steve Berman how he can't who was a Bay Area sports guy. You didn't go to Northwestern like me or whatever BS guys like that say. Like I laughed especially hard because it was a host of a show in which they've reached out to you and I about hosting more than once in the past, and we appreciate them. And it's a great network over there, and I like the people who work over there. And I have nothing but reverence and positive feelings towards people over there. But like, come on, man.
Yeah, it always feels like we don't we have you ever taken a shot at someone, Sam? I don't believe you have. I don't
No,
believe, if there was one person on this show that would do something like that, it would be me. But I don't. I'm 31. I'm pretty relaxed. To me, it always reeks a little bit of jealousy. I'm not saying that we are Bill Simmons on this podcast. We don't have millions of downloads, but we have a lot of people that enjoy the show. We have a lot of people that enjoy talking to us. We have a lot of people that enjoy supporting us, right? With the help of a lot of other people along the way. Producer Tim and Neil and Sheed, of course, who always has our back. It always feels like when somebody says something like that, it feels like it comes off as jealousy to me, because it feels like a lot of people get a little feel a certain way, and they're like, well, why does Andy and Sam have people enjoying the show so much if they don't actually credentialed, or they don't have any sources? And I don't know, man. Maybe because people just enjoy two dudes fucking sitting here shooting the shit. Because
yeah.
we've been doing it for 10 years, you know?
Maybe because we're more original than you. Maybe because our takes are more authentic, more original than you. I don't know what else to say. Like, you are correct. It reeks of insecurity. That's where it comes across. I'm sitting here and I'm listening to people talk about their credentials, and I'm going, okay, what have you done with them? For what I can tell, like, yeah, great. You got a credential because you used to make coffee for Gary Radnich in the 90s. Congratulations, bro. And it's like, you're an expert. Expert at what? Tweeting out, I can confirm this after the Athletic actually breaks news. Like, grow the fuck up, man. I don't know what to say. What is the even? What are we doing here? Like, it's a podcast. The entire point of the show is to have a conversation. Hopefully, it's an entertaining conversation. Hopefully, it's one that you guys enjoy. You may like the takes, you may hate the takes. My mentions tend to make it feel like a lot of you hate my takes all the time. It is what it is, though.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah,
Losers.
I agree. By the way, stand corrected before we get going. We do millions of downloads, Sam. We do millions and millions. We, however,
Of
don't
course.
do Bill Simmons levels of downloads. That's what I meant to say. Anyway, man, we appreciate everyone here. We appreciate everyone listening. Let's get to the good stuff.
Yeah. All right. So we're recording this after the Kings game, and I feel like that game was a range of emotions. Right. Let's go through it. Right. Like, in the middle of the second quarter, I was ready to proclaim Steph better than Jordan, the greatest of all time. It looked way too easy. And then that second half of the game, it was getting into a very dark place and was getting very negative with the way the second unit was unable to stop anything, and then having to put the starters back in the fourth quarter. And I think this is a roundabout way of saying you can mix it with the Denver game on Friday. Denver is just a better team than Sacramento. This is the tale of two teams, two timelines, and kind of trying to manage a championship team and a development project at the same time. And that's not the easiest thing to do. And it's kind of whiplash left and right.
Yeah. Last season, it was there was a two timelines thing, but I think the two timelines never actually clashed because I think the young guys were actually too young, and they did find a lot of veteran players on the bench that could end up playing, and they could go 8, 9, 10 deep with just veteran guys, right? This season, I think it's become. I still don't think it's all the way there yet, Sam. I do think there's still some space for them to say, like, hey, we could just go heavy vet if we want. If we wanted to, we could just go sit certain guys and just sit and just play veteran and win that game tonight by 20 points and not have it go down to 5, right? But we're getting there. We're getting to the point where it is two separate teams, and tonight was a pretty striking preview of that, where I thought that lineup of whatever we saw in that fourth quarter where they were up 20 plus, it was the Wiseman whatever, right? That was the hey, we've got one team that needs to play these minutes because they need to get better at basketball versus the team that came in at the end where it's like, dude, we've won the biggest game ever on the biggest stage. And we've got to come in and we've got to play the freaking Kings after we went up by 26. That was striking. It was two entirely different basketball teams, Sam. And I think that the two timelines there, you could almost see clash tonight.
So I feel like the first question I want to ask you is why aren't they being staggered a little more? Obviously the starting unit is a championship lineup. Like literally, they just won a championship with those five guys starting. Definition of a championship lineup. They know what they're doing. The second unit, it's a lot of young guys, and mixed in with those young guys is new guys like Dante DiVincenzo and even a veteran like Jamichael Green, who probably is a player you think could fit in quick with the Warriors. Like he's still new to the team. It's still all new to him. Why do you think Steve Kerr's not staggering it as much? Because I feel like the obvious answer would be like, well, the way you make this cocktail work where you blend young guys and champions and all that sort of thing is like, okay, you put like a Clay and a Looney out there with a Moody and a Wiseman. Well, maybe not Wiseman and Looney together, but you get what I'm saying. Where you mix it in and you put a little less pressure on the young guys.
I don't have a good answer outside of I think Steve's going to do that here in the next few weeks. Other than that, I don't have a good answer. I think right now, I think Steve is trying to. I think he's trying to put minutes together for guys that he thinks is going to work together and keep it kind of segregated. Now, part of it is Clay played 27 minutes tonight, but he was on a minutes limit the first couple games. Similar with Draymond, who ended up playing a little bit under 30 minutes tonight. So I think that might be part of it. But then again, if you do that, then that actually takes away more minutes from guys like Moses Moody, right? That takes away more minutes from guys like Jonathan Kuminga. So I think he will end up doing that to help those guys out. One thing we also have to notice, I think Dante DiVincenzo is probably going to be out for a little while. So it looks like he pulled a hammy. Hammies are never, nobody ever comes back from a hammy. This is not an ankle, right? So he's probably going to be out for a couple games. So maybe that, as kind of messed up as it sounds, it might help the Warriors' rotation out a little bit. To get everyone minutes to help stagger, but I think that would be the reason is that Steve's got a lot of tinkering to do. The hardest job of this season for him is not making sure that Steph and Draymond and those guys know how to play with each other, right? That's the easiest part of the job. I could do that. Hardest job is how the hell can he incorporate these young guys into those rotations and keep them happy? Because Kuminga got big minutes, not big minutes, but Kuminga got minutes today in the matter, and he wasn't engaged. I mean, it looked like he didn't really care out there. And I mean, and part of that is because he just hasn't played. He didn't play last game. Man, you're just sitting there and you're just like, well, he's not. If he's not going to play, like he just comes in, he's not ready all of a sudden, right? So it's a tough job, I think, for Steve, and also tough for the young guys to figure out how to play.
Yeah, and I think part of it is potentially Clay and Draymond not being off the minutes restriction, but I think you nailed it. He's tinkering. He's seeing what he has before he goes to it. He knows the answer is put Steph out there with guys like. But the answer can't just always be 30. Got to figure some stuff out. So there's some tinkering. It kind of is what it is. It didn't work versus Denver. It did work. Well, it didn't even really work that great against Sacramento, but they were able to get through it a little bit. And it just kind of is what it is at this point. I did think it was interesting in the Sacramento game. They changed up the rotation, and the odd man out was Jonathan Kuminga. He obviously got minutes in the fourth quarter, but they wanted to go with the 10-man rotation, which makes sense. 11's tough. And Kuminga was the guy who didn't get minutes in the first. He didn't really get minutes until guys got a little banged up towards the course of the game.
He literally came in for Dante. That was it, yeah.
And I think that's interesting because it speaks to something you've said in the past about Wiseman and Kuminga.
Yeah, I think you can almost. It's only been a couple games, but to me, in terms of those guys succeeding and putting their best position, you almost have to pick one. You almost have to pick one of those guys as the lone rim runner or rim finisher, play finisher guy who can't really stretch the floor, can't really play make with the ball in their hands, can't dribble. So you have to have them just catch and go up, right? And I think that's right now. I mean, we saw Wiseman play 20 minutes tonight. I mean, you could probably argue that if you really wanted to win this game, that was probably 8 minutes too much, right? But I don't know if Wiseman should have gotten those. I mean, Kuminga should have gotten those minutes. But I do think that if you want to have those two guys individually put in the right position, you can only play one of those. For example, like Kuminga, you can play next to Moody and Jamichael Green.
They're both play
and Jordan
finishers.
Poole. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're both the same player, even though they're not, right? Even though you look at those guys, they're not the same player, but they are in terms of fit and structure. And right now, it's obvious that they're choosing Wiseman, and who looked. I mean, like as good as he is on offense, which he really is right now, he is as bad on
Yeah,
defense.
he's two players, right? Like, because like it's
Man,
undeniable. Like the touch on, like I don't. I wish he'd finish harder, but if he's just gonna hit those finger rolls and those little like floaters, I don't really care. And he was hitting them like he was Steph Curry, only he's 7-1. And it's just hard to ignore that he went 5 for 7 with 6 free throw attempts and 14 points, and the efficiency. Um, Passing getting a little better too, like just general, like the offensive feel is
yeah, that's good there.
significantly better. And then on the other end, defensively, he's the worst center in the NBA right now,
It's
like
not
at
good.
least of rotation players.
It's not good.
Um, and that's development right there. You know, it's one of those things where it's like I would bet he improves on defense at a, it's more likely he improves on defense than he regresses on offense, I guess is my take. And from a long-term perspective, you got to feel pretty confident about that. Like he, at some point, the game's going to slow down for him, and he should be able to at least be semi-competent defensively. But on the other hand, you're watching this and you're like,
You
it's
don't gotta be an expert. You don't gotta be an expert to see like he yelled at himself after one of the possessions where he
yeah.
got scored on, and I mean he's frustrated with himself. It's not just like he's just
They were attacking him. He just,
yeah.
it's the NBA is tough defensively. The center is the toughest position defensively. These are all factors that are going through it with him. Ironically, I would say Kuminga is probably farther along defensively than offensively.
Easily.
Not a perfect defender, but he is a wing defender, and he can absolutely guard dudes one-on-one. But I don't really know what his role is on offense unless you're going to play 5 out or 4 out and let him be kind of the finisher. Like when he plays next to Draymond as like the two bigs, he's really useful, but that's mostly because he's just finishing everything inside, which is kind of what Wiseman does too. So it's just kind of like they're both physical freaks. They both have very unique talents, and like it's not the easiest thing to figure out how you fit them into a team who expects to repeat. It's not just about getting to the playoffs for them. They're not the Sacramento Kings trying to get into the playoffs and build for 2 to 3 years down the road, hopefully, right? It's like no, you need to have a functional role in the Western Conference Finals. You know, a functional role in the finals because we're not a development team right now.
My fear with Kuminga is that he's not getting enough development minutes in the right place. That's my fear. Is I don't know. I'm not that big of a a Kuminga believer, but I know that he could be really good, and I don't think he's put in the right position to do that right now. And I think it's unfair to him. Friend of the show TK had a tweet the other day that he was basically playing the 3 right now. And he's battling for those minutes with Moses Moody, and to me that's not fair. That's not fair to Kuminga, right? If you're going to put him in a position to be a 3, then you're asking him to fail, and that's not Kuminga's fault, because that's not who he is. It's like putting a Nico Mannion in minutes a couple seasons ago and asking him to initiate in a big league game, and he's not good. It's like it's not his fault. He's not good enough. Get him off the court. And so I'm not so frustrated yet, but I do think he does. Steve Kerr and the coaching staff do have to figure out a way. They can't just say, Sam. They can't just say we're just gonna play this guy 7 minutes like they did tonight. I think if Dante was healthy, Kuminga's DNP tonight. You can't do that. If you're gonna go to timelines, play him, develop him, figure something out, and they're because he could. The goal is he could be a guy that can play in the postseason, right? He could be a guy that's going to be guarding, name a big wing, Devin Booker or something in the second round of the postseason. I know you don't
Or
think
just a guy who makes it easier for you to play Draymond at 5. Like his
his
biggest value is allowing the Warriors to put Draymond at 5, which is a nightmare for opponents, right? Nice.
Anyway, I forgot we're on the live show. I gotta show off the TV.
But you get what I mean. Like part of the way Warriors beat bigs, the way they beat Jokic, the way they get Ayton off the floor is like Draymond at 5, a bunch of wings who are flying all over the place, and you can't keep up with us. And he fits the profile. Like, not saying he's there yet, but like that's kind of, you want those kind of players to get there, right?
Yes, and the only way to do that is get them on the floor and get. I I know why they're choosing to play Wiseman 20 minutes, kind of rain or shine, right? Doesn't matter, getting his minutes in, but I do think. I don't know. We'll see here. It's only been 3 games, so we can kind of move it to other things here.
It'll be
let's see what happens in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I want to say it's gonna be interesting because they're playing Phoenix and Miami this week. Those are 2 good teams.
Real games.
You know, as much as we like to clown on, the Suns, you know, they were gonna fall off, but you know, world champion Damian Lee saving them. So
hell of a shot I saw. That was Friday night.
On Friday,
hell of a
yeah,
shot. Incredible.
Great, yeah.
My God. By the way, Steph's reaction to that shot was, I mean, obviously it's his brother-in-law, but just, I mean, the guy is just the happiest guy. Is Steph not just like the boast? He just likes seeing people succeed. I don't know. I just think it's a cool leadership trait that he has that, I don't know.
I mean, he's a great leader. You guys are all seeing what's going on in LA. That's textbook bad leadership. Steph, on the other hand, great leader. Can we talk about that? Let's do this. Let's pivot off of this because we're going to talk about the 2 timeline. And like, I don't even think it's a bad thing or a good thing, but it's just going to be a thing we're going to talk about a lot. Let's talk about something a little different. Steph Curry had 33 points tonight. He had 28 in the first half, and it looked like he was on his way for 50, to be honest. He's averaging 33.3 points per game on the season. Game looks way too easy for him. For a guy who's 34 and is a small guard, he does not look like he's slowing down any capacity. The only player who can claim they're playing as well as him to open the NBA season is Giannis. That's it. You know, like I know Ja's been impressive, but like it's still just it's Steph, it's Giannis. Those are the 2 guys who are the best players in the league, and I don't think it's particularly close. I think Jokic does some things to get in that conversation every now and then. LeBron's obviously one of the greatest of all time, so he can always have a night where you're just like, yeah, don't forget about me, right? Sure. And then guys like KD and Kawhi, they have it in them a little bit, but it's like if you're asking me, this league revolves around Steph and Giannis right now, no matter what drama is going to run the ESPN headlines every day. Those are the 2 dudes who are the most consistently impactful players. And in some ways, we just tend to forget about it because there's so much focus on Wiseman, Kuminga, the future, 2 timelines, Joe Lacob's Death Star, never going to lose, going to win 25 titles in a row, you know, that sort of thing, which is fun. And like, I'm sure every Warrior fan would love that in eternity, but it's like, you do kind of have one of the most special players of all time in a elongated prime starting the season in a very special way.
We made that mistake literally this show by starting with talking about Wiseman.
Some losers. Yeah.
No, well, that as well as Wiseman. Sorry, not the same thing.
No, not the same thing. Wiseman's young. He'll figure some stuff out. He's not some 50-year-old hack. You know, who used to fucking make coffee for Ralph Barbieri, who thinks he's a journalist. So anyway, back to the topic.
Yes, and the point being, we should have started with talking Steph in the first place, who I was, if you're thinking about a singular player who doesn't have a weakness on offense, you always think about Kobe or I think nowadays Kevin Durant, right? It's just a tall wing guy who can dribble, shoot. You can't get to a shot.
Has he go over the left, go over the right? Yeah.
Right shoulder, left shoulder, left hand back, side wing. It's not. I don't think it's close. It's Steph Curry, who has no weakness on offense. He can come off the dribble and just break you down 20 feet away from the basket, jump shot. Or he can go to the rim, finish over a 7-foot center, falling
both
down.
Hands.
Either hand. He can go off ball, cutting, get one of the worst offensive players in the league to actually get him the ball, finish at the rim every time. He can go off ball, take 3 guys with him at the 3-point line and get Looney a wide open dunk. he can shoot the ball from 35 feet off a step back. The guy has absolutely zero weaknesses. And the only thing that I think right now that he's not as good as versus in his true prime, or actually, no, this is probably his true prime. But I think the only thing that he's probably
In his younger
regressed in
prime.
his younger prime is that he's just not as quick off the dribble. He's just not, his handle and his quickness is not as good. But the counters that he has, some of the stuff that he's doing where he just knows.
Tommy's pump faking that you're saying he lost a step.
I mean, he was right. I just didn't think it mattered. And look, it doesn't matter. It reminds me because we always talk about LeBron and his, like, you agree that LeBron's Cavs prime was better than his Miami prime? You agree with that?
Second Cavs prime or the first one?
Yeah, second Cavs prime. Second Cavs prime.
Uh,
Like as a
yeah.
player, would you agree with that? Because I think so.
I think it's a mix, to be honest. I don't think he definitely wasn't worse with the Cavs. But yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's similar with Steph right now because I think that he's in that LeBron second Cavs tenure LeBron where he just knows exactly.
Where you
Yep.
expect him to drop off, but there's no evidence. Like, you're expecting it because you have a number in your head that, like, well, guys don't do this at this age.
34.
But there's no evidence on the court that suggests he's dropping off.
And the knowledge of the game and what he wants to do is it's so easy for him, right? It's and he's the same age as LeBron was, right? When he was in that second tenure in Cleveland, doing that. So I do feel like it's similar for both of those guys who are, in my opinion, the two best players of their generation. Not even close. By the way, those two guys are the best. It is not close in the last 10 years. And so that's where I'm at, man. I think the dude, I didn't think he was going to slow down this season. I don't think neither you or nor I thought that. But freaking guy looks better than ever before. It's ridiculous.
The other player who I think has been a standout for the Warriors the first 3 games, and again, we buried the lead a little bit for reasons whatever. Andrew Wiggins signs a contract which we all agree is team friendly. It comes out and plays, in my opinion, better than he played last year. He picked up from where he was in the finals, which I think was like the definitive Wiggs moment. And I mean, he's a straight all-star. That's where I'm at with him. It's not even like,
Wow.
oh, he made all-star because Bam Bam and the Warrior fans and K-pop and all that sort of stuff. It's like, no, like, he's one of the 24 best basketball players in the NBA. Through the first 2 games, he's averaging 21.5, 7, and 3.5 with elite defense. Very, very good defense. Tonight against Sacramento, another 24-point game, another 5 rebounds, 3 steals, 2 blocks, efficient. On the one hand, we talked about this all last year. He exceeded every one of my expectations. He checked every box. He proved me wrong in multiple ways. And he deserves all the credit he's getting. On the other hand, watching him, I'm not convinced that we saw the best of him last year, because watching this player now, I'm not convinced he can't unlock another tier and become an even more impactful player, because that's what it looks like right now to me.
Yeah, you think defensively or offensively?
Both. I mean, defensively, you're right. Now he's just a guy who gets like 2 steals, 2 blocks every game. His hands are everywhere. He had a pick 6, which kind of sealed the game. Yeah. All that, like, it went from him being a good man defender while Draymond was the brain of the defense to him being like a great team defender on top of it and doing a bunch of other stuff. And then on top of it, like, offense, knows the system, knows where to go, where to get to the spots. It's just a all around good player and like exceeding my expectations.
I think that's someone I'm with you. And by the way, he was kind of the guy that they put the light up the wrong phrase. Slow down De'Aaron Fox, right? At the end of the game there, he basically in the Clay role. Although Clay did get a couple stops there too, but it's obvious that Clay's not there anymore. He likely won't ever get there, and that's Andrew Wiggins' role to guard those quicker guys like that. So I'm with you. The 3-point shots, they kind of deserted him in the second half last season. hit or miss in the postseason. So maybe that's something. I mean, he's hot again to start the season from three. So maybe that's something. Hitting the step backs that he loves to take. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's the comfort to make those step backs that they've kind of veered away from. But hey, if he's going to be this good defensively and make those shots offensively, they might be able to live with a lot of those step back mid ranges, and maybe it gives them an element of offense that they could use. Because dude, this Warriors offense is we it's always a lot of just Steph. It's always a lot of, hey, they're top five with Steph on the court, they're bottom five with Steph off the court. Is there a chance this season that they just end up being a top three offense overall? And even with Steph off the court, they're still very good on offense. I do think there's a chance of that, and that's partially that's Wiggins. It's always going to be Clay, but that's also primarily Jordan Poole, right? I do think this team they might not be as good.
Wiseman's part of it for all the defensive issues.
Yes.
The offense does feel real, and like he's going to score efficiently.
15 points just getting up off the bed, James Wiseman, because he's 7-1 and rolls and has pretty sweet touch. I did think about I thought a lot about DeAndre Ayton with him, just to go back on Wiseman, because he's got the nice soft touch and 8-foot kind of flip shots and stuff like that. But Ayton can play defense, and so that's something we'll see as we watch Ayton right now, actually, or earlier. Anyway,
and we'll see him Tuesday night. We'll see Ayton against Wiseman on Tuesday will be interesting. I'm not even an Ayton guy, but the skill and the talent is what it is. So yeah. Let's see. What else did we want to get to tonight? Where are you at with Draymond right now? Obviously it was the largest story of the preseason. And we all would prefer not to talk about that just because it's exhausting. It feels TMZ-ish. It's tiresome, right? But
literally TMZ-ish. I mean, literally.
Touche. What I was going to say is I thought against Denver, he looked like peak Draymond tonight. It was more of a regular season Draymond, kind of like he wasn't bad or anything, but he definitely wasn't like in it, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Do you think they're moving away from that, or do you think it's just kind of frosty?
I can only go because I don't have Sam's sources, and I'm also not credentialed in the locker room. You know what I mean? So I can only go off what I see on the court. Two takes, and this is especially the one off of Denver on Friday night. One, they are not winning a championship without him this season. They are not even going to come close to winning a championship without him that season. I've never said that they should trade him. I saw people say that they should trade him. I make jokes about how he's not going to be on the team next season, but that's next season. The Warriors are not winning without him, especially at his peak. Number two, it does feel like, to me, that they've moved away from the Jordan Poole. To me, they're kind of, that stuff is kind of gone, right? That stuff is kind of in the rearview mirror. Again, I don't know. The locker room might be completely different. Maybe Poole and Draymond don't talk. Right, maybe there's the young guys versus the old guys stuff. I don't know, but from what you can see on the court, it's the same stuff. If there's some stuff that's happening behind the scenes in the locker room, it's not affecting the way that they play. That's my take.
No, I agree with you. I think the interesting thing, the other take we're gonna have to monitor is like the Warriors' schedule gets way more interesting coming into the next week. Not that Denver's not interesting and Sacramento isn't, but like Phoenix. Chris Paul, always a thing. And then Miami, interesting. And then the Warriors hit a 6-game road trip, which will be its own thing onto itself going into the Southeast. And I think you're going to learn a lot more about the Warriors when they actually get on the road and have to travel together and go through some of the rotational things that happen when you're on the road. Like, I'm just curious to see how that plays out, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking about it. I was like, they started with 3 straight games at home. That's which is interesting. But hey, that's what happens when you're the champion. Which, by the way, that road trip looks pretty easy. I'm not gonna lie, but it is road games. I mean, they get some gimmies.
And
right?
first road trips just timing.
A little weird, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like Orlando, the first time you get on a plane in October can be a little pluckier than Orlando in January when they're maybe out of it, type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
those sort of things.
As you said, dude, the best games in the NBA when you know what a team is or what they can't be is the first 20, 25 games, right? So we're about to. Although with the Warriors, it seems different this season, where we might not actually know how good they're going to be until game 60. At least a high ceilings, or maybe it's more we don't know if Kuminga and Moody and Wiseman can actually play in a playoff series. I don't think we're going to know that until game 65. I don't know. Because right now, you could argue that none of those guys should be in a playoff rotation. That's for sure. But that's not the goal. That's not the goal right now.
Someone in the chat's asking, are the Clippers going to be a top 3 seed? And I have one Clipper take for the show, and that's I have no Clipper takes until Kawhi Leonard is fully healthy for 10 games in a row, because he's coming off the bench.
So weird.
Obviously, they're trying to get his body right. And the Clippers with a fully healthy Kawhi and the Clippers without that are not the same thing. The Clippers with a fully healthy Kawhi are worth our attention as a contender. The Clippers without Kawhi are not a contender in any level. And all that means is I'm reserving judgment until they're healthy. As much as I'd like to see them and I'd love to dissect if I think they're good or you think they're good or talk about it, it's just kind of like, what's the point? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm with you. I don't have a Clippers stick. I haven't watched them. They play at weird times when I'm usually drunk or asleep. So I don't have anything, but I reserve judgment. I am watching the Suns right now beat the snot out of them. But you're right. Like Kawhi, I didn't even know Kawhi was playing till end of the second quarter. It's like what are they doing? Right? At some point, you're going to have to figure out if that guy's going to be good or not. But I get it. The guy can't stay healthy, right? You got to figure out how to get him healthy through just the regular season. Not even talk about 4 postseason series that you have to last. You keep in mind the dude was limping on one leg at the end of that Toronto series last time. I tell you to this day, the Warriors win that series if Clay doesn't tear his ACL at the end. Anyway,
we got
should we?
We got a couple goons to get on here, and I think we gotta get through it. Let's get Ty up here first.
Let's get to the goons. Ooh, look at that, seamless.
Oh, yo,
What's up, man?
What's up, Ty?
Not to be too spicy, but fuck Cyrus, that boy's a scrub. I don't know if all your credentials and sources and whatnot get you that little play, then I mean somebody's doing something wrong and somebody's doing something right. So that's all I got to say on that. But tough game for the bench. I still feel like there's an insane amount of talent. I think it's time will tell. It's gonna take a while. Wiseman's obviously still porous on defense. That little stop and throw in thing though that he does on the roll, that's just an interesting thing. I know the Kuminga and Wiseman gets comped as they're both rollers. They both finish at the basket, but I think part of the reason Kerr is leaned Wiseman and the part of it's the roster, et cetera, but him just being 7'1", as much as I think Kuminga's a top 10 athlete in the league and he's nuclear athleticism, all that, he can't just throw that shit up there because he's got a 9'6" standing reach and shit. So the sooner Wiseman gets to palatable on defense, because I don't even know that it needs to be super crazy, just palatable enough to where he can kind of start to figure in, I think that takes this team to a different gear. Now, I think Kuminga, to me, has a slightly higher ceiling. I think Kuminga could be
it's
all
wings,
NBA.
It's a wings league.
For sure.
Wings
for
always
sure.
going to have the highest ceiling in general.
It's just so far off. And I think he has to get to a higher level to be useful than Wiseman does, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Once he's because he's still trying to, both of them are trash in a team concept defensively, but Wiseman's just tall. As much as we make fun of the whole statue thing, it's 9'6" that you have to get the ball over.
It's real. It's objectively real, and you're right. So I mean, it brings up, we talked about earlier in the show, the most interesting thing is how do you develop both of them at the same time? Because that's what we're really talking about here. I have no doubt the Warriors can make one of them useful. One of them, and in a couple years, they might be a stud, right? And go through that whole development. But how do you do both of them at the same time while maintaining your goal of 55 wins? That sort of thing.
I think it gets easier as the season goes, as they get better. I think part of that is just going to be nights like tonight where you get up big because it's the best starting five, best top six in basketball. You get up big, then you let the kids fuck around. You let them take their lumps. Maybe they blow a lead, maybe they don't, but you just kind of, I don't know. It's funny as it sounds. We're back to 2021. We're not chasing wins, so it's kind of like as long as we can get to the playoffs at a certain level, I think it's if we're at 53 in the 4th seed instead of 57 in the 2 seed, but Kuminga, Moody, or two of the 3 kids are ready, it's obviously a better situation.
I would get. By the way, that the mixture of 2021 and 2022 is a good. 2021.
So it's not as dark as 2021,
right.
but yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's we're remixing the two, hoping it tastes good at the end.
Yeah.
Bingo.
All right, Ty, we appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
Appreciate you, brother. That's a sick mic. I like that. I like the way you put it. 52 wins versus 57 wins, right? For example, do you sacrifice 5 wins if you can get Kuminga ready for the postseason? Yeah, absolutely.
Of course, yeah,
absolutely. You kind of can't. You can't tell. I mean, that's just kind of like a demarcation. Like it's just kind of vague, and you kind of hope that's what. But I think that's a good way to think about it. Where I think with the Nuggets game specifically, I'm okay with that one. Because I hope that what Steve doesn't do is say, well, Kuminga was pretty bad against the Nuggets. Let's sit him for a week. That's absolutely not something that they should be doing. They did that last season, and I was completely for that because I had no idea how good the Warriors were. Let's go and gun for these wins in a title, right? But now it's we know those top 6, 7 guys are ready for the postseason. But all right, hey Andrew.
Andrew, what's up, bro?
Gotta lean back. My head's so damn big.
Looking like Trent Williams.
Trent Williams is bad today. Rusty though, coming off a 4-week stretch. Hey, Andrew, he might.
Andrew, what's up, man?
Oh, he might be gone. He's gone.
He's
gone.
That might not be the move tonight. I think we might have to just fast forward it, bring in the closer. Sometimes sometimes you got to get him in the 8th. Go, 4. You need 4 to 5 outs right now.
Let me tell you, the Padres should have done that today. If they had figured that out, what the hell is Josh Hader for? If you're not bringing in Josh Hader to pitch against Bryce Harper, what are we doing here? Anyway.
The Padres are a shit franchise. So, you know what? I mean, come on, look at they wear brown uniforms. It's literally written on their colors. They're a shit franchise. But
Brown is a bold
we
move.
share a spring training facility with them. I hate the Padres. Screw them. So they're just completely worthless. And glad they're showing it too. But this game was just awful. How do we not score like 140, 150 in this game after putting up 90 in the first half? We're just disinterested second half. And, I like seeing the kids. It was good. But, the whole kids unit, like they started sprinkling around some other stuff with Wiggs and with Clay. I thought that was good. It only made it mildly worse, or not as bad as it was, mildly better, I should say, than what it has been. It's just concerning, and for me, I'm a fan of Kuminga. I think it's doing him a huge disservice to have this giant lane clogger rolling to the hole and basically doing all the same cuts he's supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
That's just taking up the space with him. It's just the wrong play. So if that's where he is, that he's really more of a forward, he needs to then play with the starters, right? He needs to come in as like 6th, 7th guy and play with the starters, or there needs to be a third type of lineup that doesn't have Wiseman with the second unit, that he can actually get that work in, right? That or else we're going to have to send him to Santa Cruz, because how's he going to get any work in? He's not going to be able to do the things he's good at because Wiseman's in the same spots. And it just makes it difficult. And I think Curry's going to figure that out. I mean, that's what we're going to see with these games. And when we play these trash teams like San Antonio, when we play a Utah, we'll see more of it, and they'll figure it out. It's just early bumps right now. And I know everyone likes to react to the immediate, but it's just sometimes hard when it's like, shit, we almost blew this game because of this. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah. No, I think that's the patience part, I think, is the one that you need now. Not the Fitz type of patience, where it's just, oh my God, Wiseman is 20 years old every 2 minutes on the broadcast, right? But I think patience in kind of the coaching staff to understand who to play and what, because we saw what they did last season. I think the coaching staff and how they developed certain players, especially look at GP2. You look at Andrew Wiggins even. I do think even Kuminga got a lot better from the beginning of the season to the end of the season. I do think like some of my disappointment with Kuminga is I don't feel like he got better from year 1 to year 2 in the offseason. I just don't feel like anything changed. But again, I do think that this season, I think that's something to look for. I mean, look at Wiseman; he's gotten a lot better, with a lot more to get to. So I do think the one thing I have is which is fascinating to me is, like Sam was saying, I'm watching the Suns right now, and the Warriors are going to be in Phoenix and playing them. If they want to win that game, they might have to shorten that rotation to 9. Who's going to sit, right? And is there a chance that Kuminga just doesn't play, right? We know Dante's not going to play. Is there a chance that Wiseman's only going to play 8 minutes? And so how are they going to merge developing those guys, especially in a game where it's the Suns. You don't just want to throw that baby away, right? And so I'm going to find that interesting, which, I think more so than if the Warriors had just a veteran team, I would think the regular season's kind of boring. But man, this is good for podcasting right here. This is good for downloads. This is good for Sam and I.
Yeah, this is great for your content, but I mean, just like fighting with Cyrus is great for content too. I mean, screw that guy. I mean, who goes out there and really kind of tries to light people up on the side and then begs to get on their shows and stuff without everyone knowing? I mean, it's just total trash. I mean, this guy is riding Rick Barry's coattails. Rick Barry is on the Steve Carlton scale of lunatic. Like it's just absolutely nuts, and that's his claim to fame. That like I got Radnish coffee and I sucked off Rick Barry. Like what the hell? Like that's no good. Like get this guy out of here. I don't care if he's on the Locked On network. I mean that network's trash anyways.
McWalter, I appreciate you, sir. Sam, you got anything?
No, that's it. I appreciate you, McWalter. Appreciate everyone. Yeah, we'll be back.